What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Hobby Hotline. This is episode 395. I am here with Tony, aka TJ Online, and Dr. Beckett, two phenomenal co-hosts to start your Saturday. Hopefully, if you're watching on any of the screens, I know one of the hobby shops it puts us on the screens. Hopefully, you're watching there or anywhere you're watching online. And that's always one of my first call outs. I'm interested to see where everybody's watching the show from. So if you want to drop that in the chat, that would be greatly appreciated. Dr. Beckett, how has your week been going? What you've been up to? Just tell us how your week's been.
The calm before the storm.
Yep.
We've got this is the greatest month in sports card history for card shows. If we've got next weekend, I'm going to the Dallas show, but I could have been going to the West Coast show that my friend Rob Vera started, or Fan Fest, or the Fanatics Fest. And then the National, I'm really excited about that. It's going to be the biggest one ever. So this is the greatest month in sports card show history. So calm before the storm, Adam.
Yep. That's right. Tony, a.k.a. TJ Online, how are you doing today as well?
Doing well. Blew my national budget for a third consecutive year before the National. So I'm, looking in the couch cushions, trying to find a little bit of change.
Yep. Yeah, definitely exciting. I don't think we're going to touch as much on the National and Fanatics Fest on this show. I think the next couple weeks leading up to it, they're going to talk a little bit more. I think we're still like 3 weeks out, so I'm sure, you can find national content. We are going to be actually starting the show with, I think, one of the bigger stories we've seen here and one of the bigger cards that we've seen. I would say it's one of the most historic cards in the history of the industry. There is a restored T206 Honus Wagner. Tony, I'll kick it to you here first. Kind of let the audience know sort of what has happened here with this card and maybe the lowdown of the story.
Sure. So this card, to my knowledge, originated publicly in 1976. It was sold couple dollars and it was bought by a card shop, I think for $1 or $2, and it sold publicly in the card shop for about $10. I believe that Rob Leifson bought it, and then it surfaced around again in 1996. It sold for $12,600 in an REA auction, and I believe it was purchased by the person who had it restored. Took about a 2-year job, and then it was sold to Keith Olbermann in the current state as you see here, but it was raw. And now it's up for sale. And what you're looking at now is if you go to the next picture.
Which one were you looking for?
I put them in order. There's the. Okay, so it's fine. I just had pictures. So this is the 1996 auction where you see it's, and this was archived by the late great Bob Lemke, and he wrote down where it's, who sold it and for how much. You see 12. Here we got it sold for $696, and on another page it's about 12,000 and change. If you go to the next slide, just giving folks a little bit of history about it here. Here's the back of the card, how it looks today. Next picture. Here's the original 1976 sale. I know it's kind of hard to see here. If you DM me on Instagram, just search for my name, and I'll send you a nice copy of it. And I believe this is also on Love of the Games website too, which is the auction house for this particular card. Right. Next one. You can keep going.
Oh yeah, that was the image of the card there.
Mm-hmm. All right. Al and his Love of the Game team have a really nice video of this picture. This is just a screenshot where they show you how the card looks today versus how it looked back when it was a die cut Wagner. And this here is an overlay. So if you kind of like blow it up in your mind, or just take a screenshot here, you can trace your hand visually about where the donor card, which was another T206 with this exact background, was merged and restored with this die cut Wagner. And you can see around to our right, part of his face, his left, you can see where the portion of the card that was missing around the ear, and where they restored it along with the bottom of it. Next image.
Whoops. Sorry, I had it. I was getting it ready, and then I accidentally clicked out of it. So 1 second. Here it is, I think.
And here is what the back looks like before it was restored. And the person who did the restoration, I believe, was profiled in a 1996 issue of Vintage Collector Baseball Cards. So I have a copy of that magazine upstairs. I got screenshots of that article if anyone wants a copy of it too. And this is the front of it. So you can see the card is there except for 3 of the 4 borders and the background. So it's not like you're, getting a card that's cut in half or getting a card that's really messed up to the point where it needs complete restoration with a lot of paint and everything. That's not like the previous 2 Wagners that's been sold by SCP had one, and Mile High sold the last one twice. And this is just the top of the auction catalog back from 1996. Wish I can have that Bronco Nurski card that sold for that price then.
I think and then I think this one's the back, and then I think there's one more image here.
And Dr. Jim probably has a lot on this topic in general, but this is a picture that Keith Olbermann posted on Twitter. And the important card to me is not so much the one that he's holding in his hand, but that's the one that we're talking about today. And it's getting a lot of media attention. But the one in back of that's the partial cut strip. And it's a proof. It's a T206 proof that supposedly Hannes Wagner owned, that the American Tobacco Company sent him to try to get his approval to it. And he even has the cut lines and everything. And that's the only T206 Hannes Wagner proof that I'm aware of. But look at that piece. And I believe that's one of the only few things that Ken Golden deeply regrets selling to this day, because he said that publicly.
Yeah, definitely. The T206 or the proof in the background there, or just the proof in general.
Yeah, proof in general. Yeah, you got Mordecai Brown, you have Cy Young, you got Wagner, and 2 other players.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's such a crazy, it's an insane set, really. Like, I mean, obviously one of, I think one of the original sets really in the sports card industry. Dr. Beckett, you were telling us before the show, I think you were talking about this card that you potentially had an opportunity to acquire one of these cards. Were you talking about this card or a different card?
Neither one, but first of all, we're showing the card that Keith is holding now is what it looks like now. But originally, it was a mess. And so people, it's a partial card, but it's been restored amazingly. And just to kind of correct one thing, Ken Golden, I don't think regrets selling anything because it gives him the opportunity to sell it again because somehow he gets a lot of repeat business, some boomerang business. So if Keith wants to sell this, Ken Golden's going to have him on speed dial. So he'll get a second bite at the apple. And that's just a magnificent strip of 5. And this restored card looks great. But remember, it came from that really amateurishly trimmed outline card. So, but the restorers back in the day, they stayed underground for the most part, but they were professional restorers. And this was a very high level restoration job. And many of the high level restorers from back in the 70s, I don't know about the 60s, but I know there were some in the 70s. Denny Eckes, my business partner at the time, was aware of people that were doing that stuff, but they were kind of underground. They did not want to be known, but they did fabulous work, almost undetectable. I don't think it was undetectable, but very close to undetectable. So this is a magnificent restoration job. And unlike, I don't know if I've heard quotes on this, but I think this is going to go for a big number because of the Olbermann pedigree, The restoration is spectacular.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible how they were able to kind of create a card from a piece of the card, obviously. And I think it's kind of one of the cool things about cards from, that era, and just, older cards in general. It feels like a lot of the cards were not like meant to be collectibles. Like, they were not kept in good condition. So it's like, that's when you find those vintage cards that are in good condition. That's why you see them have such a huge price tag. And I mean, this one obviously had more, obviously had a lot of work done to it, but it's still such a unique piece, because it's taking what was an original piece of a card that, that most people know of. There's probably TJ, or Tony, there's probably only like 200 of these. I'm not sure the exact number, but
90 maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
right,
90.
Exactly.
Yeah, give or take.
No, but this is two cards.
This is two
sandwiched together. And they're not both Wagners, but
right.
No, it's like I said, back in the day, the highest level professional restorers that are working on not the Mona Lisa, but work on very high level museum quality stuff, they did not advertise. It was word of mouth. You had to know somebody, and I don't know that you had to swear to secrecy, but you weren't going to tell people that you restored cards. But this is the way to go, to declare it. This is what happened, to give the pedigree. And I think that adds value, because it's not a mystery of, hey, was this done under the table? No, we can track the provenance. We can track the history of this card and how it was put together into something that I think, like Tony was saying, this looks way better than the previous Wagners that have been out there for sale that sold for big bucks. And also, at least one, well, I don't know, one of them was authentic, but this is a better authentic.
The last two I see, SCP sold one for $1.1 million in 2021. And then Mile High sold two of the same cards. The last one being in April 2025. That sold for almost $2 million exactly. And those cards were in worse shape than this one. And a lot of painting had to be done to kind of match the card, what was left of the card to what you see today. And then we have the second card, I believe PSA ever graded, which has a 0000, ends in 2, and that's the Wagner that's basically ripped in half. And that sold, the last time it sold for $476,000 in February 2022. So I guess you're looking at somewhere between that, those three ranges.
Right.
But
yeah,
what's nice is,
Oh yeah, go for it.
I'm sorry. I was going to say what's nice about this, and I'm sure that you and Dr. Jim will also agree, is it's openly labeled as restored. It's not even like it says all. It's just not altered, just restored. And then SGC has a nice write up on it. Love of the Game does. Olbermann wrote an article on it again. And everything's open about it, even the before, during, and after pictures of it. So, and I think that's really cool.
Right.
The other thing that might kick in here is that it looks a little bit different as well.
Yes.
Because of the slight difference in the color background. Yeah. And so you think, well, that doesn't look exactly like the others. I think it's going to be a mark of distinction. Again, there's no hiding this. This is what was done. And I think it's a beautiful looking card. It went from an ugly card to a beautiful card.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I think, Foul Balls in the chat kind of talking about this might be a scam and that it's a fake. And I mean, I think there's a little bit of a distinction here, because we all know the store. We all know it's been restored. It's not like they're trying to sell it as like an authentic, as a fully 100% authentic version of the Wagner. Like we know, and anybody buying this, like, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt when it comes to how much research they're doing if you're buying something. But if you're going to buy this card, you know what you're buying. Like, I don't think anybody has the money to afford something like this and doesn't know that they're buying a restored version of the card. is it a fake? Is it, I think restored and altered, I think it is much different because we know, like you said, there's only about 99 of them in existence. And, each one is going to have different parts about it that make it unique. Like not every, it's not like a million cards that are coming out of packs nowadays that are, the Luka rookie, that's all the same. It's all the exact same card. Like this is a card that has 99 copies probably in existence. And I would say probably about 90 to 95 of them are all going to be in different condition, which I think makes this card so unique. And Mookie actually had a good question in the chat for you, Dr. Beckett, that I wanted to ask. So he was asking, what are your thoughts towards card restorations at a time where card can be repaired? Is it similar or different? I mean, I kind of went over that a little bit, I think, with this card specifically, but I'm interested to hear, your thoughts on kind of the restoration of this card and sort of that stuff in general.
That take up the rest of the time, Mookie. To do a whole episode on that. But just to address the scam part of restoration and those kind of things, where in the chain of custody was a crime committed, where there was deception committed? I don't see it. Okay, so to me, a scam has to either be illegal or deceptive. And so I'm not going to use the scam word here. I'm going to use marketing. This is marketing. This is tell it like it is. They want to make sure that whoever gets this card understands the full story, and it's a great story.
Right.
It is a great story.
Yeah, right.
Yes, I think yes, and it would be a scam if you tried to slide it by somebody.
Right. If this was, if they restored it and somehow they were trying to sell it off as a authentic, 100% authentic Wagner, obviously, I think in this scenario too, the restoration of the card, you're restoring a card that there's only 99 of them in existence. It's like, I don't know if they did it. Like, I know Golden also sold one of the copies of the Declaration of Independence, which I guess I kind of learned that there were multiple copies from them selling them, because I'm like, it's not the National Treasures version that they're trying to steal in the movie. But yeah, so I just
that would be a scam.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
So the movie prop. The movie prop.
Right.
The original.
Right. Sorry, I had one other. Orlando saying there's probably about 60. I mean, it's, I think it's the number depending on who you ask, it might be different potentially. But yeah, it's, I don't know. I don't think it's, necessarily, I don't think it's a scam. I think they, it's a restored copy of it's a restored copy of something where there's only 99 or 100 of them in existence. I guess it's kind of, who knows? Who knows? And the person that's buying it should know what they're buying. That's the other thing.
No, but Adam, there's a little more knowledge about who has them. Back in the very early days in the 70s, and when these card shows, the really big card shows, where all the major, we'd go around and I'd be a listener more, but these guys older than me would talk about who had the Wagners and where they were. And at that point, they could identify 45 or 50, and the hobby was close knit in those days, so they know who had the Wagners. Since that time, every 2 or 3 years, another Wagner has been discovered. 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years. I mean, sometimes you go a while. Okay, so now the perception is, like Orlando says, it's really a pretty strong perception that it's around 60. Maybe it's a little bit more than that, but I think the story is better when you say, there's really a thought that the population is in the 60s, and that it's not nebulous, and we may find another one every so often, but how many more are going to be out there after we've been looking for 100 and some years?
Right, exactly.
My point is, it's a tighter number than what people think, based on my 50 plus years in the hobby of researching these things. So that makes it a great quest.
Right.
That makes
totally.
it a great quest.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I guess Tony, any last thoughts here on this topic before we move on to, I think this was a pretty good week of hobby news stories that we're going to cover here. And I think so. Tony, any last thoughts here on this Wagner?
Just what Dr. Jim said about the pop, yeah, that's definitely accurate. He would know more than
Right.
anyone. And I also like the fact that the donor card for the background was the yellowish fading. I forget the name of the player, but that will always make this card stand out, and no one could ever try to pass it off, try to get slabbed again. Even though I don't think it would ever happen into a PSA 5 or 6. I mean, it's not like that, and it's not like any of the other cards that are currently do have a number grade that we think may have been altered in some way. This is clearly open, transparent, and I think that's the really cool story about this, and it's different.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. And then, yeah, Dr. Beckett, any last thoughts here before we move on?
No, but I mean, thank you to Keith for giving us a chance to talk about this and give somebody else a chance to own a Wagner with a great story.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Now the next story we're going to talk about, not, obviously cards that are not as old, but cards that are maybe just as historic. It was announced this week that Michael Jordan and Upper Deck have extended their partnership. So they had Michael Jordan had an exclusive partnership with Upper Deck since 1991, signing for autographs and memorabilia and stuff along those lines. So along with the announcement that he was going to be extending that partnership, the Upper Deck also announced that this year in Goodwin Champions, there are going to be pack redemptions for the 1986 Fleer basketball packs that are signed by Michael Jordan himself. And I think one of the cool things that they did here, I'm trying to find it on the screen. I know it's number 12. I think it's this one right here. He put let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more. It actually is from what I understand, it is a pack that has a Michael Jordan in it. And he signed it, rookie pack. Why he didn't do 23 of 23? I'm not. Maybe 12 was I think 12 was his Olympic number. Maybe that's why they did 12 of 23. But one of the packs actually has a Jordan in it, and there are going to be redemptions. I believe that there were also going to be redemptions for signed Jordan boxes, which is another cool thing that Upper Deck is adding to Goodwin Champions. Unfortunately, the price of the Goodwin Champions box have jumped pretty significantly since its announcement. So I'll kick it to you here, Tony. First, what were your thoughts on the announcement that they came out with, and what are your thoughts on just this in general?
I don't want to call Upper Deck a little guy because I grew up around when they were big, when I was 13. But in this particular case, I'm glad that Jordan stayed with Upper Deck. They just extended the contract. Apparently, he has a lot more input about what his autograph goes on, what type of products, and they want to, I guess, go for the nostalgia part of it, where get more items from the hobby and maybe have him autograph it. And this 86 Flair box, which would be auctioned off on eBay, 10% of the proceeds are going to go to, I forget the foundation, but they said that. So eBay is going to auction off the box, which is 101, and these redemption packs. I like how they're numbered 1 to 23 and signed. Well, he didn't number it, but he signed it. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Beckett, how about you? What were your thoughts on this the news story that came out this week?
I thought it was terrific. I mean, all this stuff. I mean, that Upper Deck's doing their part in trying to 10x the hobby. I mean, who doesn't want to have a chance at a Michael Jordan card or autograph, or especially rookie or the rookie sticker? So this is going to be terrific. What this story has legs. What people I think are missing is the fact that it's announced as Michael becoming a legacy partner. And I emphasize partner. I mean, I don't know that he doesn't need a lot of money, but I think this is bringing him into even a closer relationship with Upper Deck. Perhaps he's participating on an equity basis for this product or other things that he's doing. That he's getting and some creative opportunity to do some fun things. His goatness is being challenged. And so this is an opportunity for him to say, hey, I'm still relevant. I'm still doing cool stuff. You've got to because his autographs are really tough. Now, the whole thing here is that his autographs, if I got one of these I'm going to open the pack because there's like a 1 in 12 chance of getting a Jordan in that pack, in any pack. Okay. And there's a 1 in 12 chance of getting the sticker of Jordan.
Right.
So you just, there's no way I would not open this very carefully. And they truly are wax packs. So you can unseal them and unfold them and flatten them out and be careful with it and get the autographed wrapper laid out. But I think here's the negative about this, is that I think from back in the day, from 40 years ago, there was a systematic distribution of these cards to where if you just peek at the first card that is on the bottom or whatever, if you could just get an idea of one card, you would have an idea of the sequence.
Right.
And so you would know if Jordan was in the pack. Right. And so I don't like. But on the other hand, there's going to be a couple of Jordans in there, and there's going to be a couple of Jordan stickers in there.
Right.
And they're packed fresh.
Right. Right.
They might wind up being a Black Label 10. Who knows?
Right. Yeah.
I think there's no way I could not open a pack if I got it. I am a collector of cards, not packs.
Yeah. I think it was the Bill Laimbeer. If you open the pack and the first card is a Bill Laimbeer, I think that's how you pronounce his name. I believe that has the Jordan. I know the collation. I think an interesting thing here, I think, is that Upper Deck is kind of confirming that is the case. Like, because by Jordan signing one of the packs, rookie pack, I would imagine that would mean that they know that there's going to be a Jordan within the pack. But this, the stickers, I don't know if that's. Oh, it would be the sticker. Okay, right. So
because you can see them on the back of the pack.
Right. Yeah, and I guess I would be interested to know who came up with the idea first, because this year we've seen a lot of like nostalgia redemptions with, Topps did the Mickey Mantle redemption, and now we have, a 1986 Fleer redemption. So I would be interested if this was like maybe a consulting company suggested it to both Topps and Upper Deck, or if this was an idea, that came to fruition because of what Topps did with their Mickey Mantle redemption, because that, that card, the redemption from that one sold, I believe, for over $100,000 more than previous comps. It was a PSA 5.5. The redemption sold through Golden, which gets crazy. He's all over everything that sells nowadays. But the 5.5 redemption sold for $293, when I believe the other sales of PSA 5.5s of the Mickey Mantle were like in the 130, 140 range. So, again, I don't know if this is coming if Upper Deck came up with this idea because of what they did because of what Topps did, or if this was just something that, it's a coincidence that both companies are doing this type of, redemption within both of their big products, I think, this year, which I think is definitely a cool thing.
Guys, Upper Deck is probably pitching Michael Jordan every year to get some more autographs from him.
Right.
The interesting thing about this is it doesn't dilute the market as badly as some of the other ideas they come up with. If they did, serial number to 1,000 autographs of Jordan, that's bad. But this is autographing the wrapper. It's just, there's a lot to like about this. There's a lot of smart people at Upper Deck. There's a lot of smart people at every one of these card companies. They're creatively doing things. But like I said, the word partner, I think, is critical. Michael Jordan had to personally embrace this and say, yes, I want to do this. And I'm sure he had some creative input, because he doesn't want to have his goatness. He wants to be the GOAT. He is the GOAT.
Right.
LBJ is going to be messing around this next year, doing interesting things that are pretty unprecedented for a player of his age. Although Kareem finished pretty well too, but Michael's maybe feeling the footsteps.
Right. Yeah, and I guess too, I would be interested, like the legacy partner aspect of this, deal that's going on. I would be interested to know, like what, because I would be interested to know what input Michael is going to have. I call him Michael like I know him personally, Michael Jordan. Like what input he's going to have into some sort of sports card related products going forward. Because if you look at the only industry that's really the closest industry to sports cards really is kind of sneakers. I think like the buying and selling of the sneaker market is pretty close to like how these cards work. So I'd be interested from Jordan's input of maybe some things that have happened in the sneaker industry with his name and his brand being one of the biggest in that industry. If he has any suggestions of how we can make this industry better or kind of, add some stuff that we don't really know of or stuff that maybe, because we're so into sports cards, we didn't think of that we could add this. So I think I definitely think it's a cool addition to Goodwin Champions. Like I said, it's one of the more anticipated products every year already. So it's definitely, it's adding to the excitement, I think, of that product just in general.
I think Michael Jordan wants to do stuff that's interesting, that hasn't been done before. And I think he's embraced this because it wasn't a Me Too copycat thing. Hey, Fanatics is doing this. We're going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
This is pretty much an original idea, and it will be well executed. And I think it's great. So Michael, again, the partner is saying, yeah, I want to do this. I mean, back, 20 years ago, it was tough to get players to cooperate with anything. And now Michael Jordan's got a seat at the table. He's saying, if I'm going to do it, this is the way I'd like to do it. Here's what we had in mind. Here's what I'd like to do. It sounds terrific.
Mm-hmm.
And it bodes well for the ongoing relationship that there'll be, again, without diluting it too much, that Upper Deck, this is their strongest hole card, for the value of their company is they have Michael Jordan on speed dial, and Michael Jordan saying, yes, I'm answering the call. I'm here for you. Here's what I'd like to do. What do you think? And almost no matter what Michael Jordan says, the Upper Deck said, you bet, Michael. You want to do that? We want as much as you'll give us within reason.
Right. Yeah, Tony, I know you had something to say there as well. Go ahead.
Yes, sorry about that. I'll just keep it quick. So if you are lucky enough to get one of these, just look for the Clark Kellogg. If you get the Clark Kellogg, then you're going to get an MJ in the back. I read an article that the Sports Business Journal put out, and they just said basically Jordan's going to have much more influence over which historical moments will be celebrated, which objects he will sign or not, how limited editions will be handled, and the inscriptions used. And finally, they said he's going to have more input about the type of memorabilia. So right now, Upper Deck does not have the NBA license. They're only putting out college cards of MJ, or, I don't even think they put out cards where the Bulls logos, not where it's painted over. So doing things like this where they can get things that were done in the past, which were made in the past, and get him to sign it, I think it's a wonderful way to pay, tribute to the greatest basketball player of all time, next to Wilt.
Right.
In my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's, and I mean, I guess another piece of this story that I think is interesting is, there was a car, one of the PSA 10s for Jordan, I think it sold for $390K like last week. It was the highest sale of a PSA. Yeah, it was the highest sale of a PSA 10 in 5 years. So, we've seen signed Jordans go for more. We've seen Jordan PSA 10s with one of the NBA stickers sell for, more than that. But it is one of the base versions of the PSA 10s. It was the highest it's sold in 5 years. And I think it's one of the more iconic cards in the hobby with only 335 PSA 10s. It's probably one of the more expensive base rookie cards in the industry as well. So, out of these packs, I personally, I mean, I'm probably on the other side. I'm not like Dr. Beck. I would not probably open that pack. I think I would keep it in the seal there. But like I said, it's cool that they're bringing more nostalgia, I think, into an industry where everything, it feels like it's very much like what's going on right now. So it's cool that they're bringing more of the nostalgia into these packs, whether it's topped with the 1952. And I know they're doing, I think it was Hank Aaron and Jackie Robinson, I believe, are going to be the redemptions in series 2, and they're kind of adding more of those redemptions into those packs. I think those are definitely cool, and it's nice to see that they're bringing some nostalgia into those packs for sure.
Again, guys, the problem is if Upper Deck announces in 2027, we're going to do this again with another 23 or 4 packs and another box. And everybody's going, oh, that's great. The Boys and Girls Club's going to get another big check, and the collectors are going to get this. But there has to be some restraint here.
Right.
Because, the hobby likes to kind of beat dead horses and promote things to death. So if there's some restraint here, this is going to be a terrific promotion. And then Michael can say, let's do shoes, or I've got some jerseys, or I've got some other things we could do.
Nice. Yeah. Definitely. I think Jordan kind of has his finger on the pulse of what is trending just based on, the brand, I think, as well. So we are actually going to move on to a topic that I think is probably the most controversial topic we've seen in, I don't know, quite some time, is Topps announcing that they're going to be selling the pre-ordered Topps Chrome Update mega boxes that are sold directly through their website. Because I know that was one of the misconceptions that I saw a couple people talking about was, well, what's going to stop people from going into stores and buying these and then switching the packs around? For right now, it's only the pre-orders that Topps is selling directly. They're going to be selling the boxes without the wrapping. I've had mixed feelings about it. I'll let you guys go first, Dr. Beckett. I'll kind of ask you first, what were your thoughts here when you saw this past week, this news?
I think it's an experiment. It's an experiment that's to see what happens. And I think I'm glad that Topps is trying to experiment with things. Now, if they just have, and again, every company's different on this, but if they, the shrink wrap is the first level of protection, but the second level is the little tab sometimes at the making sure the box has not been, that the box top is, the little circular emblem or something that some of them do and some of them don't. And then the third level is what's in the actual pack and the searchability of a pack once you open the box. And that's problematic. So if that secondary protection is there of like a tamper-proof seal of the flap of the box that you can't get into the box without damaging the box, but we still have all these CRT, threats of that too. So I'm hoping that all that stuff is resolved because the crooks they are, you slow them down when you do these things, but I don't know that you stop them. And so I'm hoping it's a successful experiment because if this is letting people know that Fanatics thinks it's good for people to get the box at a reasonable price, open it up, or that somebody can sell it to their friends or people in their store or whatever, or at a show, and you're selling at a reasonable markup. I think they deserve credit for this experiment and trying to protect the collector.
Right. Tony, how about you? What were your thoughts here when we saw this news past week?
Dr. Jim brought up many great points, but the point that resonated with me was, will they still have the little tamper-proof piece of tape to prove? I looked for it. I couldn't find information about that because if you open up, sorry, Dr. Jim.
No, I'm saying that's big concern.
Yeah, it's huge because then Topps is going to sell these directly to the consumer and to other dealers. And then what happens after that? Because you can easily switch out packs. They weigh them. You can do a number of things. I'm not a buyer of this product, but my son and I used to buy the Allen and Ginter products up to about 2 years ago. So we love those. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. But it's definitely a step in the right directions if you're in the market for these types of items.
Right. I guess too, just to kind of piggyback on your guys' point here, like if it still has that piece of tape, isn't that essentially the same thing as having the wrap on there? So like if it
No,
does, it's
no.
no, you don't think so?
You go in the side.
Ah,
People do heart surgery going in through your leg, so
mm-hmm.
through your groin to
Right.
fix your heart. So there's just you know guys. I mean, I don't want to be thinking like a criminal because it infects your mind, but
Right,
they'll
right.
find a way to peek in there or to kind of
Mm-hmm.
slide it out and slide it back or just uh so
Yeah.
so
Right.
unfortunately, Adam, they might try to beat that system, even if the tamper-proof box closing mechanism is intact.
Right. Yeah, and I mean that's the other thing that you said, Dr. Beck, that I kind of was thinking about was like the criminals are going to do criminal stuff. Like, it might slow them down, but they're going to try and find a way. Like, so, that's that, and I think that's why buying from, either directly from Topps or buying people who have a good reputation in this industry is more important than it ever has been. I mean, the amount of, and I know we were talking about the Wagner earlier, but I've seen people making cards. Like people are just making fake cards. Like I saw some people take prism cards and they were putting like a sticker, like a plain piece of like foam, what's it called, like plain piece of plastic, and making it into a refractor, and it's like then selling it as a refractor when it's not at all. So I think that buying from people in this industry that have a good reputation is more important than I think it ever has been. And having a good reputation is more important than it ever has been. I think that's kind of that's the other part of this, where I've seen a lot of people saying that this is going to be the problem and this is going to be the problem and this is going to be the problem. But it's like, if you're buying them directly from Topps, which right now they're still available, which I guarantee that if these were sealed, I think that they probably wouldn't be. Like, you can still buy these right now, which for the new Topps products, this is the longest I've ever seen any of them available on their website. I mean, the blasters, for example, those sold out in 5 minutes. Like when they dropped the blasters, and I think they did EQL for the hobby boxes and jumbo hobby boxes, but when they dropped the blasters, they sold out in 5 minutes. So it's like, I don't know if this is because I did see someone say that maybe this is because they just printed a ton of these boxes and that's why they're not selling. I think it's partially because of that, but I think it's also that, maybe people just don't want to buy the boxes without the shrink wrap to resell them. And so, I think $85, these used to, I don't know, back in, I don't know, not even back in the day, probably like 3 or 4 years ago, these were probably $50 or $60 boxes. So you're seeing a pretty increased price. So it could also have to do with the price, but I think overall Topps is at least trying to figure out a solution to boxes and the prices on the secondary market to help collectors. And that's what they said in their statement. Let me pull that back up here. They said this is an initial test of a larger program working to ensure that more collectors can buy the products at retail prices, which $85 is still kind of, I don't know, it's still a little high in my opinion for a box. But at the same time, who knows how this will go and what their next steps are. I mean, Dr. Becker, I'll ask you this question. Like, what do you think could be another solution? Like, at least, like I said, at least Topps is trying, but, do you think that this is potentially a good solution to keep the prices where they should be, I suppose?
It's an experiment, Adam. I mean, you said it well. If the end result of this is that reputation matters even more than it used to, then that's a positive development, that you're going to be careful buying from a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
But these are mega boxes, I think, and they're $85, and you're really talking about I think it's a limit of 4 per customer, and so maybe the lack of sellout is that hate to again think like a criminal, but the criminals may not have figured out how to beat this system yet. And so they're not going to jump in with both feet until they figure out, hey, how can I work this to my advantage?
Right.
Instead of just buying and opening them and enjoying them or selling them for a reasonable markup. So if it hasn't sold out because the scammers have not figured out yet how they're going to do an end around, then the people that are getting the product are the people that want the product for their own personal use and for their kind of direct customers or their friends. You get about buying group, all these things, but it's only what is it, 42 cards in a box?
Yeah, I believe yeah.
Well, that's not
six cards per pack, 7
I'm
packs.
just saying, it's 42 cards at a time for $85. You're paying $2 a card. For 41 of them are not worth $2.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but they're trying to figure out that, and I hope they're not able to beat the system, as we said. And if they're not, then the junk wax era was precipitated by people being overly aggressive of buying stuff because of the potential for future resale. This is defeating that. You're not going to be buying it thinking, hey, I can flip it and get it to somebody else. You're thinking, I only need to be buying what I really need for this, because the shrink wrap's not there. I'm probably going to need to sell this sooner or open it myself and all that. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I if it keeps, like, I mean, I think at $85, it's a tough sell, in my opinion, honestly, just to try and sell that box at that price in the first place. I think obviously people are buying it, but not at the rate, and maybe that's because of the unwrapped boxes, or maybe it's because of the price. I mean, I think there are tons of different things that could factor in here. I mean, obviously you're paying $85 for the chance, like, to get one of the debut patches. I believe that is advertised on the box, but there's only 93, or I think that there's 99 players. I think there's 93 that have autographs, and then there's 6 players who are Panini exclusives that don't have autographs, but they have debut patch cards. So, I guess, Tony, I'll ask you a question here before we sort of get towards the end of the show and talk about some more collecting stuff. Is this a product that you would even think about buying, whether it was like, or maybe, I've got a better question. What would the price of this product have to be for you to actually want to buy it? I think that's probably what I'm wondering.
$5. I'd rather spend my money on cards like this from the 80s that I can enjoy, and maybe the Buddy Ryan Pro set signed. The Steve Jeltz or Juan Samuel isn't signed yet, but that's just Now, if you ask my son, it's a whole different story. My son just turned 17. He's getting a little bit out of the card market, but if you asked my son two years ago, he would probably say like $40, $50 based on how many lawns he could mow.
Right. Yeah. I think it's a combination of those two things. The price, and I think it's the price at $85 is maybe a little bit too expensive. Like, even if you're trying to flip those boxes, like, what then people are going to then spend, they're gonna have to spend $100. Like, I don't even know where the profit really comes from if you're really trying to flip those boxes. Like, I'm sure the blasters selling at, I think those ones were selling at 40 or 45. People are probably buying them for almost the same price as these mega boxes on eBay, if I had to guess. So I think it's going to be, it's an interesting experiment. Clearly right now they're still not sold out. So maybe it's worked, maybe it hasn't. We'll see once those boxes start getting shipped out. We'll see if this is a solution that they want to use going forward, selling stuff directly from Topps. So, as we get here towards kind of the end of the show, I think I started including more, collecting aspects to it, not just talking about the news. So Dr. Beckett, anything recently that you've picked up that you want to share with the audience, or anything, any cool experiences you've had at any card shows recently?
Well, let me tie that into what we were just talking about, and that is that there's a positive tension between buying singles, like Tony was saying, buying exactly what you want, and buying unopened and blind box, not knowing what you're going to get. And that can be slab packs, that can be unopened product, sealed or not sealed, but you're getting something you're not sure what you're going to get. And so you're paying extra for the chance to maybe get something great. I understand that. But it's in the best interest of the collectors in the hobby that product be opened, because ultimately we are card collectors. And so that tension there of the products that are new need to be opened up, and some of them are opened up with people that are just lottery chasers. And then, but like I say, for me, so to tie it back to me, they're going to throw that other stuff in the dollar box. And I'll get a chance to look at it. So I don't need to worry about paying $85 to buy 42 cards that I only really want one or two. I can take my $85 and I can buy 85 cards, all of which I want, and I'm better off. But I don't have that opportunity if people don't open up these boxes.
Right. Yeah. That is one of the things.
And it's a good tension. Junk wax era, not enough was opened. It was put away. And then when everybody brought it out, there's a lot of cases of these things.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things too, that a lot of people are talking about with maybe Topps trying to thwart some of the reselling is like, people have to open it for people to buy singles or for people to buy cards on eBay or card shows. People have to open the boxes. So I think that is also part of it. It's like, I do think that there is a big sect of the hobby that just buys packs and holds on to them, or buys boxes. I mean, you can see behind me, I have like 1 or 2 boxes of sets that, I've got some Topps basketball, got some, I think WNBA Prism, got some World Cup Prism. It's like, I like buying blasters, like 1 or 2 blasters and then saving one and then opening one. But it's like, without people opening the packs, people can't, there aren't cards to buy. But at the same time, there are already so many cards that it's like, if they were to stop producing cards, if they were to not make any more cards forever, I think that there would still be a market for cards because there are so many of them already produced, and there's so many already that are there. And Tony, kind of similar question, Dr. Beckett here. Anything you've been picking up recently? What have you been doing collecting wise as of recently?
My son and I are in full blown World Cup mode, and I've been trying to lay off the Hostess cupcakes during the World Cups, but you do need the occasional treat. So instead of buying the Hostess treats, I picked up these 2 baseball Hostess cards, and this Reggie Jackson's also a blank back. I don't know why, but it's pretty cool. But to get into the soccer, my son wanted to get a box of World Cup. It's like $800 a box for World Cup cards. So instead, for a fraction of that, we bought 2 Lionel Messi cards and the Futures, and 08 and 07, even with his old jersey numbers on them. So that's the recent pickups for us. Just something we can share. And, even if you're not rooting for Argentina, it's still pretty cool to be able to hold something in your hand while you're watching the matches.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, US, they just were bad. Like, I don't know, really. It felt very reminiscent of like when Brazil played Germany in the Brazil World Cup and they lost 7-1 against Germany. It felt very reminiscent of that. I mean, Pulisic said he had a broken leg. I don't know. That dude's injury prone. I mean, I've watched him, like, he played at Chelsea, which is my English Premier League team that I watched, and he basically barely played for 2 years because he was hurt the whole time. So I don't know. He's got to figure that out. But yeah, it was definitely unfortunate to watch. And then they had that catastrophic the third goal that they let up, that the goalie kicked the field. So I was like,
whiffed.
Yeah.
If there was ever a Bad News Bears type of movie made for soccer, that last game against Belgium, that could be the script for it.
Yeah, so, right. Which, I mean, granted, if we beat Belgium, I think we have to play Spain in the next game. I don't think we would have beat Spain, so it would have been top 8, which I would have been much happier with top 8. Top 16 is where they go out every single year, and now we're getting I've seen a lot of posts about the players who are younger now that are probably going to be popular for the 2030 World Cup. And, Ronaldo, he probably will keep playing. I know he was not good at all in this World Cup either, but the next World Cup is in Portugal. So like the thought that he's not going to want to play in the World Cup in his country, I just don't believe that's going to happen. I think he probably does end up playing. But yeah, I mean, it was a little bit unfortunate, I would say. I mean,
Adam, America didn't choke. We were not one of the top 8 teams.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Who would we be supplanting? So, and Pulisic is a really good player, but he's not. Nobody's calling him the GOAT.
Right? Except for that one guy on the what's the attic pickers or something like that, where he's like, yeah, he's the LeBron James of soccer. Like he was selling a Pulisic Chelsea jersey. That was a good one.
But the hobbies moved on to Holland and Messi,
totally,
and Mbappe. They've all had their moments. Lamine Yamal hasn't yet, I don't think.
Right.
So
not really.
We can hope for that. But Pulisic, he's not one of the best players in the world.
Right.
He's a good player. He's one of the best American players, but we just aren't there yet. And there's no crime in that. And we'll see if there's national will to reorganize youth soccer to try to do better in 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure for a lot of people, when they saw Gio Reyna and Stephen Bullholzer on the pitch, they were probably like, well, this is like a throwback, because Bullholzer and Reyna were their fathers. Bullholzer was, I believe Reyna was the captain and Bullholzer was one of the players. I think it was in the 80s. I'm not 100% sure, but I know that they were on the same team and played together. So it probably was a little bit of a throwback there. And, now I'm seeing with Bullholzer, like he has some offers overseas. I think right now he plays in the MLS. I forget what team he plays for. He might play for Vancouver potentially, but yeah, I don't know. I will say, as good as the World Cup has been, it's been a little bit underwhelming from a card perspective, I think. Like, I thought that the Apple TV deal with the MLS was going to be a big move. And I thought that was going to be great for, excitement here in the US. And I just don't think it really hit as hard as I thought it could have. And, I don't know, maybe that's because USA lost, but it just didn't, for years, this was, I thought, the World Cup where it's like, this is where we're going to see the peak of the soccer market. And I think we have seen over the past year or so that we've seen a lot of big cards sell. We've seen a lot of Lamine Yamals. We've seen a lot of, like, Holland just had his Bundesliga Topps Chrome Superfractor autograph sell. I think that was like a $600,000 card. And then you had the non-autograph sell for $500,000. So if somehow Holland and Norway can beat England, I think that card, sells again. I'm pretty sure the person tries to flip whichever one sold that was sick. I think it was the autograph. They probably try and sell it for $1 million. I wouldn't be surprised, but yeah, it's definitely, a little unfortunate, I would say.
Adam, are you saying MLS has grown a lot, and it's mainly due to Messi, but
right.
It's grown a lot. If you look at the before and after, it's more on the map than it ever was. And it may be that after this World Cup of some of these international, maybe they'll be later in their career, but MLS is more legitimate than it was 3 years ago.
Oh yeah. 100%.
So it's a step in the right direction.
I just thought it was going to be. Yeah, I just thought it was going to be way bigger, in my opinion. Like, that's just sort of what I thought. I we are seeing, I think it's like the Inter Miami is trying to get the goalkeeper from Cape Verde, which I think is really cool. And I know there have been some big announcements over the past couple of weeks of players coming to the MLS. Like you said, Messi obviously being the big one, he's going to kind of continue his career. I guess, hopefully. I don't see him retiring anytime soon. I mean, he's basically, he's a major league player playing in a double A league, almost, like with how good he is and how kind of where he is in the MLS. He's one of the best players. So, I thought it was going to be much bigger, but, at the same time, it's like, what can maybe it's my expectations were too high. I think that's probably kind of what it comes down to.
In addition to the players coming here to play in the MLS, I also like to take a look at the young kids and their kids, but they're pros. Our U.S. kids going overseas to play, being on loan, how many, that growth. I mean, when you see our kids going overseas to Germany, Premier League, and the Italian league, that's something telling too, because that used to never really happen. Not to what we're seeing now. So, there's a local kid, Philadelphia kid, Aronson, and he made the Olympic team. He's also on a pretty good league in Europe. So once we get more of those, I think we'll see soccer getting a lot more popular.
Right. I think, like, there's another player. I think his name is Kevin either Sylvia or Sylvian.
Sullivan. Sorry.
Sullivan. Yes,
Sullivan.
Yes.
Yeah, and also Aronson. Both of those. Yeah.
Yeah. Both of those guys are definitely exciting players to watch here in the MLS in the MLS. And I think the Apple TV deal, they've kind of switched it around where they're going to be putting more games not on Apple TV. So I think that will be good because then you're going to have people maybe get excited. And I mean, I would love to see a combination with like there's the USL, which is like basically the B league here in the US. I'd love to see some combination with those two leagues. I don't think we'll ever see it just because of the way that US sports are kind of formulated. The owners don't want a regulation style league, unfortunately. But what are you going to do, I guess?
Well, you do relegation.
Well, yes, that would.
You have relegation. You better you better finish the season strong.
Right. I think if they were to do that, I think that would be a great combination for the MLS here, realistically. Like if they were to do some sort of regulation and promotion with the USL, like it's already a league that's kind of running and it's teams that are popular. Like there's a team in Rhode Island that I'm actually interested in maybe potentially going to some of those games because I'm like the stadium looks good, the team has cool colors, and there's tons of good teams in that league. So it'll be, I don't know, we'll see. Maybe Topps does a USL product soon. I don't know. I think that would be kind of cool. But
guys, Mike Petty's comment: do we think soccer either invented flopping or perfected flopping?
Perfect. I mean, with only one ref on the field, it's like that's every other sport. There's multiple refs who are able to be like that. I saw that guy didn't get touched. He didn't. But with one ref, it's like he's looking at the ball, obviously, but then he has to kind of keep his head on a swivel. It's like it's tough when you're 15 feet away from somebody and somebody goes down. It's like, well, what did you expect? I don't know. Yeah, I think that's a good question.
But with the flopping, if you complain about flopping in soccer, just look at today's NBA. I mean,
yeah, it's very similar.
I mean, you got LeBron James flopping all over the place, just like a goldfish out of water. So,
yeah. SGA is kind of in a similar boat there with the style is not. I don't know. They won a championship, but I think the same with what happened with the Celtics here. We're going into an era where the second apron is teams were willing to go into the second apron one time, win a championship, but they're going to be out of there soon. Like that's why the Celtics have to trade, that's why they have to trade Jaylen Brown. And I think OKC is probably going to go through a similar boat here where they're going to have to trade some people away. Or they're going to be paying like a crazy penalty for the salary cap that they've got. So I guess we're up here on the hour, pretty much coming up at the end of the show here. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Thank you to everybody. Shout out to everybody, dropping their locations. I really appreciate that. That was cool to see again all over the country. We're nationwide here on Hobby Hotline. We'll go around the horn one more time. Give yourself a shout out. What do you got going on? All that kind of stuff. Dr. Jim, we'll start with you. Let everybody know where they can find you. Anything you're looking to promote here as we're wrapping up the show.
Well, I already answered that. I'll be looking to see people at the Dallas show and at the National. That's going to be great. And Adam, it took you an hour to mention Jaylen Brown.
I'm still mourning. I'm still mourning.
Great job as usual.
Appreciate it. Yeah. I'm still that trade. Just don't even look, Dr. Becca. I've talked to my friends about this trade at length.
Don't mess it up now.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Tony, quick, get me out of here.
Just National coming up. I'll be doing an interview on the main stage. I believe it's going to be Thursday at 4 p.m. I'll be interviewing Stacey Wall. He's a TV director, and one of his past works, he created the little Penny Hardaway commercials back in the 90s.
Oh, cool.
With the and he's also a painter and an excellent collector, even better fella. So I'll be Thursday at 4 o'clock on the main stage.
Nice. Yeah, we've got National coming up, got Fanatics Fest. I don't think I'm going to Fanatics Fest. I'll be at the National, so that's definitely going to be very exciting. I've been putting out my National tips on Instagram and TikTok. If you want to, get up to date with some of that stuff, I think I've been doing it since the start of July. So, got a lot of tips coming as we go through the rest of this month leading up to the National. So I'm definitely excited to put out some of that content. As I usually say, make sure as you're, if you are somebody who has the knowledge and you are able to help a new collector in the industry, if they have questions, spend the time, spend a couple extra minutes, help them out. I'm sure they'll be greatly appreciated. All the people who helped me throughout my journey, I've been greatly appreciative of. We'll be back here on the For Collectors YouTube channel next week. I believe we will also be at the National doing a show on the stage. I don't know if we can. I don't know if we've confirmed the date and time yet, or I don't know if we've announced it. I think we might have confirmed. I don't know if we've announced it yet. But yeah, definitely excited for that. Make sure you come back here, like I said, For Collectors YouTube channel next Saturday. We would really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Like and subscribe. I guess that's something that we have to say here on YouTube as well. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you guys in the next one. All right, nice.